Shirshanka is going to talk us through some recent improvements to our Looker connection, and then I'll do a quick run through of that.
All right, Iker, that was great, and loved the problems that you called out around both being able to represent multiple tenants well inside the catalog. I think that's actually something that's top of mind for us as well. So we are going to be modeling domains way better, and so you should be able to create multiple namespace metadata graphs very soon. And in terms of extensibility of the UI and being able to customize it, that also is very top of mind for us. So I think it's a very right time to get involved in that effort as well. There's quite a few people in the community who have that requirement, including the LinkedIn team, who runs a very complex version of DataHub inside. So it's a great time to actually collaborate. All right, moving on. The Looker connector has had quite a bit of improvements. Some of it might be a bit disruptive, so it's important to kind of pay attention to this. Quick intro to Looker itself. Looker is a complex beast. It is an ETL tool as well as a BI tool and everything in between, which is the slippery slope that all BI tools fall into, right? So here are the concepts. Looker connects to your database, or it could be multiple databases through something called a connection. You typically host your Looker stuff in a project, and a project typically is one-for-one with a GitHub repository where all the Looker files are also checked into in the back. Looker is amazing at this stuff. What's in a project? Well, there are model files. That's kind of like a namespace. And model files include view files. So you can have views inside a model. Think of it like views in a database or views in a schema, I guess. And they also include other files like your dashboard files and things like that. So these are kind of the file-oriented view of what a Looker project looks like. Let's talk concepts. You've got a database, you've got views, then you've got explorers, which actually expose those views into your charts and dashboards ecosystem. So from the right to left, you've got dashboards, which contain charts, which are sitting on top of explorers, which are pulling in data from views, and views are pulling in data from databases. So that's really the ecosystem. And the previous connector, before we made changes, had a few problems. One, we have two connectors, actually, two sources. One that goes after just the charts and the dashboards, called the Looker connector, and one that just parses the files, which are in the Git repo, called the LookML connector. And the two of them were actually non-overlapping. The Looker connector went after dashboards and charts and tried to guess lineage to views. And the LookML connector would get the views and tried to get lineage from the database. It was almost correct, but there were some small glitches in how they were working. Firstly, views were being named as global names, which looks great until it breaks, because you might have the same name view in a different project, and then very soon you've got name collisions happening on views. There were some challenges with correctly resolving partially specified table names in view definitions. When you write SQL, you can write the full definition like a.b.c database.schema.table, or you can just say table name, and Looker kind of does defaults. It did not understand explorers at all. So it was hoping to get to views from the charts, and it was making mistakes. It was also not pulling in ownership. So you'd have all these charts and dashboards in DataHub, but not really know who owns it. And that was kind of like a missed opportunity. And finally, if you have really complicated LookML files with lots of nested includes and things like that, the parser would just not be able to get to all the views correctly. So these were the problems. And next slide. We've made improvements to them. It's available in the latest version, 08.14.2. And we're actually making quick improvements to it even now as we're getting feedback. So there might be a .3 and a .4 coming out soon. But a few decisions that we made that you can control is how views should be named. So we decided to name them based on the project name. So this is the project under which the views live. This is typically your GitHub project name. And we're naming views as project name.views.viewName. This is actually a configuration parameter, so you can even change it. Go read the docs. We also have better specification for these DB connections, because those DB connections are actually maintained on the Looker side. And we now support resolving those database connections through the API as well, but you can also specify them offline. And we're also extracting explorers and owners. On the Looker side, there are no really required changes for Looker ingestion, but the LookML config now supports API credentials. And if you do that, it will do a lot of resolution on its own, and you don't have to provide it so much help. And if you're not using the API, it requires a project name. So net, it's all good. One big caveat, if you're upgrading to the latest connector from a previous connector and you've got data or metadata ingested from the past, you will see views get named differently, and your old views are going to stay unless you nuke them. So be aware that that could happen. So you want to roll back that ingestion if you want to remove those views. Or if you really don't want to touch your view naming, you can actually change that config parameter to name views the same old way that they were being named. The docs actually go into that in a lot of detail. So thanks for listening. Please play around with the new Looker connector and give us feedback. We're still making quite a few improvements. And we can actually show just a brief demo of what that looks like on DataHub demo, because we've done some ingestion already and put it up there.
Yeah, so to kind of take this for a test run, this is our own Looker instance. And I took the lead on ingesting basically the metadata flow from DataHub. So how the metadata is actually structured. So let's see here. For example, we have, data set property, or sorry, we have, where did my thing go? Oh, there we go, data set properties. So this is where Shirshanka is talking about the concept of a view. A view is then pulled into an explorer. And this explorer lives within this model, right? So these are just like very basic Looker notions. So within the explorer, we now see, like in the browse experience, we now see a data set explorer in here, and allows folks to, add fields and build out visualizations, etc. So by leveraging that, I built out a very meta dashboard, because of course we love metadata here. And I wanted to get a sense of how many dashboards or how many data sets or how many assets or entities within our DataHub demo instance are missing descriptions, right? So getting a sense of kind of the health of our metadata there. So we have it broken down by environment, by our platform type, by the schema, and then just the data sets as well. And then down here, we have a beautiful sand key. I'm a sucker for a sand key chart that shows you the flow of the data sets between all of those different environments. And ultimately, this terminal node is how many have descriptions on here. So cool, now we have this dashboard. So if we go into our DataHub demo and we look for DataHub Health, we'll now see this dashboard in here. And this is owned by me, that's great. Within this, we have these various charts, which are also owned by me, and that's also great. And then if we wanted to look at the lineage of it, we can start to look at, we have our dashboard, our DataHub Health dashboard here. Our chart is here. This is built off of a LookML data set, which is actually, this is one of our, or sorry, this is now what Shirshanka was saying. We're inserting in the namespace of it being an explorer. This explorer is built off of a handful of view files here. So, oops, no, zoom in. So now user basic info, for example, we have, we're qualifying that as a view within Looker that sits on top of a snowflake table, which is ingested using an Airflow job, et cetera, et cetera. So we start to see the full lineage of data transformation then presented. I think there was one other thing. Oh, the other thing is when in the actual browse path, if you're looking at Looker data sets, we used to just kind of lump all of these together as views. We're now actually separating out these entities between explorers and views. So we're getting it closer to, we're mimicking the same kind of like namespace and structure of Looker. So it's more intuitive, and you don't have to kind of do the mental gymnastics of, is it a data set, is a view, Looker calls it this, Looker calls it that. We're now treating it, with the Looker kind of syntax there. So,
another sneak announcement that things that'll come to the UI very soon is you'll start seeing not only right now, when you look at the search previews, it says Looker dataset. So that'll start having to say Looker view. It'll start saying Looker view and Looker explore. So it'll make it even more clear whether you're interacting with a viewer or an explorer.